What's up, babes? Welcome back to another video. This one's gonna be, I don't know if the start of a series. I feel like I read way more manga than I watch anime. It's just easier to binge. It's very fast if you get good at it, and since I read so much manga, it just gets faster. I mean, reading's a thing that you just get better at doing that. But Bleach. Bleach is an anime that I wanted to visit for a long time. I didn't think that I would ever read it just because of the big three. I wasn't that interested. Both of my brothers really liked it, and they finally talked me into finally reading it. And at the beginning, I was disappointed. I was very disappointed. The first, 100 or so chapters was a snooze fest. I could barely get through it. Now, I can read through, 100 chapters in a week. It's really not that big of a deal. I probably finished this in, 2-3 months, but considering the first 100 chapters took me a large chunk of that time, I went through fast. I thought overall it was good. I'll give it a rating at the end of this, but I'm kind of just going to go arc by arc and kind of review how I felt about it at the time. Now, an overarching view of Bleach as a whole, I think Bleach is a roller coaster in terms of entertainment. I feel like it can go from very low lows, rushed, strange things that the mangaka decided just to maybe breeze through, have these ideas, and kind of just go with it. And even though it might not have been the best, it was kind of like, those were lull moments. And then you have amazing high points off the screen high that are just amazing, that are truly like manga and anime at its peak. I've watched clips of it. I'm probably going to butcher some people's names just because I read it. And when you read it, you kind of just have these people's names and you think you know how to pronounce them, but Bleach has a lot of crazy names to it. So, going over the first one, Agent of the Shinigami arc, when Ichigo kind of first gets his powers from Rukia, you don't really get the full picture of anything that's going on at this part. It's very real. It's very real world. People are going to school, having conversations, and monsters are appearing around the world. This is in the main world, and it was boring. I didn't like it. I really didn't like it. It made me not like a lot of the main characters. Even till the end, these characters that you meet at the beginning are very main characters. And I forget where exactly, but there's a point where it's talking about the main characters and it's like, and then their lives were changed forever. And now looking back, I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool. And I bet if I reread the beginning, I would appreciate it more. But just reading it to begin with, absolute snooze fest. I almost did not even read it just because everyone's like, oh no, it gets good around chapter 100. Chapter 100? Do you want me to read 100 boring chapters just for it to get good? But they were right. But they were correct. Right when we drop into Soul Society, now we're talking. Now, in the first arc, we meet all the main people. Sato, kind of main. Inoue, the lady with the powers. Rukia, Ichigo, of course. And, what's his name? Uryu? Ishida, the archer, the Quincy. And they all seem normal at the time, and then we finally get to Soul Society. And that's when things go from, boring, and then it amps up so fast, so quickly. In terms of, fights and stuff like that, this might have been my favorite part. It's kind of tough to compare it to the Thousand Year Blood War, just because of the amplitude of what that meant. But the writing and everything with just the introduction to Soul Society was gold. Was absolutely beautiful. It started with these people coming down and just destroying Ichigo. Now we kind of know that he had some latent power that he was just kind of storing, and we weren't entirely sure what this meant for the entirety of the story. But I was completely blown away in kind of how they went about it. I didn't think that he would kind of just ramp it up like that. There was some training arcs. There was definitely his training arc of before he goes to Soul Society with Urahara, which I knew was going to go off at one point. I didn't know it was going to be at the very end, but I knew he was going to go off at one point. But him improving like that, him having his holified side, him with his sword, advancing that to the some with a Z. They have a lot of crazy names and stuff for everything in there, but yeah, Ichigo's a great main character. I really like him just as a whole. He's very real, and he has that main character attribute where it's just kind of like everyone takes him at his word because they trust him and because he follows through. And Soul Society was the perfect way of going about that. It was all about saving Rukia. And at the end of the day, you find out that she was a part of that she's been in Soul Society her whole life, and that she broke the rules by giving Ichigo her powers. And him using those powers to slowly march his way as a, what did they call him? The, I forget what they're called. But the whole group, they have like the nickname of, crap, that's gonna bug me. They're basically talking shit. They're like, the whole group of him, Sato, Ishida, Inoue, just coming into Soul Society as like vagabonds was awesome. Like them defeating the guard, and he's like, no, like you mean nothing to me. Getting kicked out, sneaking in, and then them slowly having to fight vice captains and captains. And you find out, I mean, the power scaling of captains was a little strange just because of who they would win and lose to, what powers they were using during that time, if they had the powers during that time. But overall, what I will give Bleach at the end of the day is that their characters are fantastic. The characters are amazing. I wish that they explored like a lot of these characters more, but it's better than them exploring them too much and us getting tired of it, right? So I was very impressed with many of the characters. Kenpachi is one of my absolute favorites. I'll spoil it a little bit later, but the soon-to-be Commander Captain Shunsui, I thought he was amazing. I thought the archetypes of these characters were fantastic. Rukia's brother, Byakuya, I have him pulled up because these names are tough. Aizen was Aizen? The guy was a great character. What's his name? Why am I forgetting his name? Pulling it up. Grimjow was fantastic. Renji was amazing. Oh god, that is a name. The Arankar with like the one-sided horn, and then he later powers up. Yorichi was an interesting character that like only came out like 3 times, but was crucial in those 3 times. Like absolutely and utterly crucial. But Soul Society was amazing. Him like going through, fighting Renji, powering up during that fight, fighting Kenpachi with one of the best anime fights. I watched the whole thing. It is amazing. It stands the test of time. Whenever it was first animated, it was amazing. Slowly making their way to there, losing some of the way, being healed some of the time. It was strange. And you notice like as Soul Society as a whole, like some people were alright with the kind of mischievous behavior that was happening, the chaos that was happening. Some people used this to their benefit. Watching the commander fight 2 captains when this was going on, because like everyone's on a different page and you find out later that they're kind of all under a spell that was a part of Aizen. I think people are going to be pissed if I mispronounce that, but the glasses guy. And then you get the backstory of why Urahara and them are in the regular world, what happened to everyone, the holification, and that brings you to the next arc, which was the Arankar, the arrival. Everything is Spanish themed. Hienso Mundo? I don't know how to pronounce that either. But that area as a whole, it's not as good as Soul Society. It's not. But it was good. I like when they fought the X top 10. That was really cool. The only thing that I will say about Bleach, a little nitpicky thing, and I really found it around this part, is some of the extra characters that they throw in are absolutely pointless and I hate them. Too much high school shit going on throughout the series. Way too much. Nobody cared at that point. Like, once you get to Soul Society, who gives a fuck what they're doing in high school? Like, who cares? Like, who the hell cares? And then, like, the little... I forget her name. She comes back at the end, too, which was kind of nice, and she wasn't the worst character, but that little, like, Arankar that you found out that she used to be a part of them, and then she was a kid, and then a little confusing. There's a lot of, like, little confusing things, but it kind of adds to the overall charm of Bleach, because it felt like... I want to talk to the guy who made this. I know that, rest in peace, that person is no longer there. That's kind of why the ending was rushed. But being able to create like 3 separate worlds on top of the normal world is amazing. Like, I don't think people understand how amazing that is. And for it to be like encapsulating as a whole. Like, the setting of it was absolutely tremendous. Even me talking about this is going to increase the final score. Because now that I'm thinking about it, it's actually a little bit better than I'm giving it credit for in general. But that whole arc was good. I very much liked it. I think the Ichigo power-up was awesome. I think the holification was great. But, like, the thing that always happens with this is it's like Ichigo is outmatched, and then for some ungodly reason, the powers dwelling within allow him to defeat it, but it's believable. And they kind of do this, like, interesting power scaling where it's always kind of a mystery, because he'll go inside and he'll, like, fight his other form, and he's like, oh, I'm trying to beat you in some kind of way, and that doesn't really make sense until much later. And even much later, it's still a little confusing, but it does make sense. I just found it really cool, and then you find out later that he is both a Shinigami and a Quincy within him, which is kind of making him have this broken Latin power, just because those two were kind of sworn enemies, which is kind of like the overarching theme, was that Quincy's are out to kill the Shinigami, which was the final 1,000 Year Blood arc. But before that, we had the Full Bring. Is that what it's called? Yeah. The Full Bring arc, and what did I think about that one? It went 0 to 100 really quickly. Like, I wasn't too big of a fan at the beginning. Like, I was like, after he defeats Aizen, and I liked that. I thought the kind of betrayal, the captains all teaming up, them fighting in a copy of the real world, Aizen's power just being absolutely and utterly broken for that, but you find out that, oh, Ichigo's like the only one that can kind of get around that, but then Aizen is so smart that he slowly becomes a god during this time. And then what's the Orochimaru like dude's name? I don't remember. Gin. He, like, at the end of the day, he's like, oh, it was me, I was always the one that was going to defeat you, and he actually almost pulls it out of his ass, but not quite. He kind of gets cheesed a little bit, powering up Aizen even further. He's like, you did this, like, thank you. Like, this is why I kind of brought you around this whole time. Who would have thought? But he looks impossible to defeat. His dad comes out, which was incredible. All the people, like Urahara, what's her name? Yorichi? Yeah, Yorichi comes out again, and they fight, and then it's up to him to defeat him. And like he always does, when he says he's going to beat somebody, he does it. And that one was probably debatably the biggest ass pull. Actually, yeah, I would say that's the biggest ass pull of the entire series, was him beating Aizen, just because I feel like he was super outmatched even at that time, even with everything going on. But he beat him, and it continued the story. Aizen was imprisoned, which comes back later, which I loved. I love that they brought all the characters back for the end, and even though it was rushed, I still feel like it was good. Moving on to Full Bring, 0 to 100, like I said. Once they get to the end, it does get really cool and really interesting. They had a lot of cool powers. The training was all right. It was just kind of slow for me. I was like, where are all these cool characters we just met, and we're introducing all these new ones, and they expect me to care, but I don't really care. But at the end, then you find out that he was like the original substitute Shinigami, and I was like, okay, like I can dig that, and it was cool. Their weapons and abilities, like all those guys, were cool. They didn't stand a damn chance against the Shinigami, which was kind of like, it was just weird to me. Like, it was like, okay, like Soul Society, you've got these stupid strong people, and then you get over to the Arrancar, which are even stronger dudes. Aizen, which is basically a god, and then we go to these normal guys who have like partial-ish broken powers, but nothing like crazy. Like one of the guys does for normal people, but then like the Shinigami come out, and I'm like, this isn't gonna be hard for them, and then it wasn't, and I was like, yeah. But the end was good. I would say the end of the Full Bring arc was solid. And then we get to the final arc, which is kind of like we have to train for this dude who's coming out of hiding, who's not messing around anymore. And that man's name was Yawach. I don't know how to pronounce that. That, like, they hit me with like the craziest names at the end, and I'm like, really? But I just finished reading this probably like a couple days ago. I think on Saturday. Well, that means nothing to you. But I finished it a couple days ago, and I really liked the ending. And like the ending, because like I was saying before, when it has like the really low lows but the really high highs are like exponentially high. And the end kind of perfectly encapsulates that in 60 chapters. About maybe even like 80. You can bring it back, and like you bring out all the, I forget, the Stenritter letters guys that like come out to Soul Society, and they're all fighting, but this is all kind of a ploy why Yawach is destroying the Soul King's palace and like everything happening there. But before that, they have like the training arc and kind of what's happening there. You hear the full story, which allows Ichigo to power up even further once he hears the story of what he is, like what he means, like what's going on there. Which is very good. I thought his dad was a great character that I would love to see more of. All the dudes, the Zero Division was awesome. Those fights were solid. They were quick, but they were solid. The bald guy who looked like Zangief just about, that dude was the man. that dude was actually the man. I'm like, damn, you almost closed the show like right then and there. And he should have. He should have gotten a chance against all the other guys because I think he would have cleaned house just about. Like, Miracle's kind of broken, but like kinda. And then we get to the end when he makes what was it called? Weldmar, something like that. His new empire or world, because all the places we know, Soul Society, the world, Hienso Wendo or whatever, is being destroyed. It's all gone. The Soul King is dead. The Soul King has been absorbed by the most broken guy with eyes everywhere. His eyes blew my mind. I remember zooming in. I'm like, does he actually? And yeah, he has like eye, like it's some shit's going on there. But he's the Almighty. And he's able not to just see the future, but to change the future. And I mean, as far as we had seen so far, this was the brokenest broken power that we'd seen. And we had seen some broken ass powers to this point. But all the fights on the side, you see every single captain and vice captain that you kind of cared about to this point coming full circle with their final battles, whether it was against the left hand of the Soul King, which I love that fight. I forget that guy's name, the mad scientist name starts with a K, some crazy shit. Because Kenpachi gets bopped by that thing. After having a good fight with Mr. Imagination, like, you know, SpongeBob, Mr. Imagination, but that was also a good fight. They had a couple good fights in Soul Society, but the main thing was in Weld whatever. So that fight was awesome because at first I was like, this scientist guy's a dick. Like, he's talking to Ishida. He's like, oh, I have plenty of Quincy's. I don't need to study you anymore. Of course, he kind of loses that fight, but then you look back and you're like, how the hell did you lose that fight? Like, what? Or I guess he got stalled. Like, it's like that kind of stuff is like things that I think about. But I really like that fight. I really like that he figured it out. I really like that at the end of the day, the person that he created evolution, and he's like, beat that, Urahara. I was like, I can dig that. Kenpachi with the crazy power-up. The Ice Kid, adult now, after his power-up was awesome. Rukia's brother going in. Renji's, like, final word was awesome. I think Renji as a character, like, he was somebody that I was like, this character is just the design, just how he looked. I was like, he is awesome looking. But he's probably done. Like, he just lost to Ichigo, like, within the first 150 chapters, whatever. Like, it was probably like chapter 120, 117, something like that. It's like, whatever. Like, this guy's probably done. We're not going to see him again. He's a beaten villain. But then, like, for him to, like, not only train all that time to be important in so many other arcs, goated character. Absolutely awesome. Rukia is kind of the same. Really cool. Finally getting the approval of the brother at the end, which was awesome. Like, a lot of characters just came very full circle. Urahara with the Bankai at the end. Goated. Sick. All these Bankais were nuts. Were crazy. And, like, coming to the end with just everyone amping up, and it's like, oh, what are you pulling out of your ass? And everybody, the bad guys, the good guys, everybody was pulling something out. And it was just awesome. It really was. Like, you can kind of complain about some power scaling stuff that was happening during that time, but it was awesome. It was actually awesome to see all these dudes duking it out at a very, very, very high level. People that we met at the very beginning doing very important stuff. Even the guy who originally, Ganju, who snuck into Soul Society, decided, hey, I'm coming with you to defeat the guy who just absorbed the Soul King. I'm like, what? But it made sense. Grimjow came back. That one girl from the Arankar place. Hienso Wendo. Anyway, it was awesome. The final fight, like I said, it was a little rushed, but the guy was dying at the time, and he wanted to get it done, and I understand that. Don't want a Bleach situation. You know, that's always awful. I hear he did pass away. I don't know when that happened, how after. I hear Bleach is also coming back, which is exciting. I think that's just the anime, but the ending was really interesting. Because, like, I don't really care about the romance behind it, but it was very interesting to see that Rukia and Renji ended up together. And I was like, yes. And I was like, in terms of, like, a Hinata type of standpoint, like Naruto-wise, Inuwa deserved Ichigo at the end. Absolutely. Like, absolutely. Like, he wrote that character very well. Like, Sato as a character was pretty good, but her as a character stayed true the entire time. The entire time. And she was able to protect, or at least attempt to protect him at the very end. And she's like, and I was like, damn, really? They're going to make it the only time she's able to fight with him? With the most broken motherfucker that's come out this show? But that's what happened. and I think it ended awesome. I think the kids, I don't know if that's what they're getting into. I think they're just going to show the 1,000-year blood war, but very good. It was very good. Overall, I think I'm going to bump up the score, actually. I recommend it. It deserves to be a part of the big three. It really does. I would say it's the least consistent of the big three, but it's still very good. And when it's good, it's damn good. It's great. It is fantastic. The imagination behind not only some of the power, like I'm telling you, some of these powers are insane. Like I don't even know how you think of that. But the world, the design of the swords, everything that this guy did, amazing. I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. It's fantastic. Go read it. You can watch it as well, but I always recommend reading it. Plus, it's like 700 chapters, so get to work. But it's coming back. So if you've already seen it, and I know I'm pretty late to the party on this one, but I'm glad I got there eventually. 8 out of 10. Loved it. It's sad. I don't know what to read now. I think I'm going to go back to jiu-jitsu, but we'll see. Go read it. Very good. Shout outs to Ichigo. I guess it's always the main character that's my favorite, but Kenpachi's like so close, and there's so many good characters. I might make another video just about like the characters and how good they are, because they're actually like very well written characters as a whole. Like some of them are kind of tossed aside, but even like the bald guy, shout outs to the bald guy who has the Bankai just out of nowhere at a random spot. I'm like, that guy was sick. There was a lot of vice captains that were amazing. There was a lot of situations where people just were awesome. So that's it for today. Kind of a longer video, but we're done. I gotta go stream now. Peace out. Subscribe, like, comment, do the stuff. I've been playing Zelda music this whole time. That's it. Bye. Bye.